Well, hello, and welcome back to another video. I am going to be talking about dating apps today. It has been a long time coming. I've been teasing it for a while now, so I thought I would sit down. Plus, it was the only video idea that I had on my list, and I'm crossing it off with this video I'm making, and now I don't really have any ideas. So, hoping and praying that God just gives me some ideas in the next week, or you guys leave some down below on what I should talk about, because I didn't really think this would happen, but after a while you just kind of, I don't know, you cycle through all of them. But knowing me, I can talk about almost anything, so something will come to mind. But without further ado, let's get into the juicy stuff. Dating apps. So I first downloaded my very first dating app back in June of 2021, and I don't really know, well, I do know what sparked it. I talked to a handful of people just casually at like different gatherings and stuff about how they met their significant other, and they said a dating app. One was on Tinder, one was on Hinge, one was on Upward, and then maybe another one was on Upward or some other dating app. And so I also heard about United Young from either an ad on social media or a friend or something, but I downloaded United Young first. I liked it because it had a friend section and it had a dating section, and it's a Christian app, so I was like, this is a good foundation for me to start with. And so I did that. I did try to download Upward for a hot minute, literally like a day. I just didn't like the way the platform was set up, and I didn't really was vibing with the people initially when I first got on it. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna delete it. I'll stick with United Young and go from there. So I think at first, I don't know if I kept it small at first, but you can change the radius of how far you want people to be, and I think I did it like anywhere, so it wasn't just California people that I was matching with. There was people from like Missouri and Illinois and just all over that I was seeing their profiles. And so I do remember the first like dating app thing that I had. It was with this one guy that we had the same worldview on everything, and I was just like, what the heck? Because I did not expect that on a dating app. And we were texting for like 2 weeks, and I kept trying to be like, let's talk on the phone, like let's FaceTime, and he just was not down for that. So I was like, well, then I'm gonna stop texting you then, because I don't want that, because we were texting a lot. And I don't want to be catfished, or also, even if you're like a real human, I don't want to just be texting you, because that can create an emotional connection when you don't actually know the person. And so then, like, if you were to ever talk on the phone or like FaceTime or meet in real life, it just could be really weird, but you've had like all this time of communication. So that was the first one. And then the second one was FaceTiming this guy, and he lived like in the Midwest somewhere. I forget which state to be exact, like Missouri, Kansas, Illinois, something like that. And we FaceTimed twice, and it was nice, but there wasn't like a spark, I guess you could say. And so that one just kind of fizzled out. Like, I don't remember like ending things. It was just kind of like we just stopped asking to FaceTime after the 2 times. I got busy, he probably was busy. It was over the summer sometime, like early July. And then I matched with this one person, this one guy, and we FaceTimed for a while, and that one carried for a few months, but I didn't really know if we were like friends or not friends, and so I did end that eventually once I realized that I wasn't interested, but we still keep in contact, maybe like once a week. And so he's a really cool person, and that's what's so hard, and that's what I want to talk about with dating apps is, because I won't go into like every single person that I meet, but this is a good segue, like giving a little intro of like the dating apps I did, a little story, and then getting into like the meat of it instead of going through like every single guy that I was either texting or FaceTime or met in real life. But what I would say is that it's hard because you're meeting these people online, a profile that they curate, and then you match. You're like, I think you're interesting, you think I'm interesting, we match, we start talking, but you don't know if you have a friend vibe or if you have a romantic connection vibe. And so I think that is the hard part with dating apps, is if you meet in a normal like church setting or at a gathering or at your work or wherever you meet, like down the street, then you have time to kind of build that rapport and test the waters a little bit, see if you have more of a friend vibe, more of a romantic connection, and just let things play out. But when it's on a dating app, you kind of go in with the pretense of, we're going to date. And it's not just like, oh, I'm here to meet people, and if we're vibing, then that's cool, and if not, then that's also cool. And so that's what's hard, is everyone has a different perspective. Some people are like, I want to find my spouse, so like not wasting any time. If you don't want to date me, then bye. Or if I don't want to date you, then bye. And then some people are like, I'm kind of 50-50. Like, it'd be really cool to find my spouse. It also is just like cool to meet people, see what's out there. And then there's some people that just want to see what's out there and like meeting people. And so I kind of fell more in between the cool to meet people, see what's out there, and like 50-50, might want to like meet my spouse potentially. So I would say I was like 60 to 75% cool to meet people, see what's out there, and then like the rest percentage, what would that be, like 40 to 25% would be like more of the 50-50, we'll see what happens. So I did United Young, and then in the summer, in August, when I was in Maine, I, for like a week or two, downloaded Hinge and Coffee Meets Bagel. And I didn't really like Coffee Meets Bagel, so I did that for maybe a few days. And I did Hinge for a little bit of time, but nothing really happened. Like, we weren't texting for a while. I think I matched with a couple people, but again, it wasn't like we were texting for a few weeks. I ended up deleting the app before I even like came home. So there was that, and then I didn't have a dating app for a while, not September or October or most of November. And then literally at the end of November, I downloaded United Young again, and two things stand out. I literally downloaded it for like 3 days, 2 days. One, the first guy I ever talked to way back in June, like somehow on the first day that I downloaded it, like messaged me, liked my profile, and was like, hi. And I was honestly kind of mad. I was like, what do you want? Because earlier he was like, I don't want to talk on the phone, I don't really want anything to happen. So I was just like, why are you messaging me again? And he was like, oh, I'm just trying to say hi. And then so that was just kind of like, wow. And then this other guy also had a very, very similar worldview to me, and we tried to meet up, but it just didn't work. Like, he was working retail, and I wasn't really like interested in him per se, but more so because we had the same worldview. I wanted to like meet up and chat just because it's rare. And so that just never ended up happening because he like kept having to cancel and reschedule, and I was like, I'm over it. Like, I don't even care that much. So and then okay, so then this section of the dating apps is, I just cracked my knuckles, is what made me finally sit down to film this video, like the latter half. I will also say, before I get into part 2 of the dating apps, because I feel like that whole aspect was part 1, there was a guy that I matched with back in July, and we were just very friendly with each other, and then he became a client of mine, and then we became friends, and so that was very unexpected. Like, it was just funny because like he became a client, so then I viewed him as like a client in my mind, and we weren't like really talking as like potential. And then I met him obviously when he finally became my client as a photographer, and then we became friends after that. And so that's one of the cool aspects of, for me, doing the dating apps is meeting people. Like, there was this one guy as well way back in the summer where we matched, and we like had some like fun conversations, but both of us I think just weren't vibing. But he followed me on my photography account, and he also likes to travel and hike and do photography, so I followed him, and I still like, comment on his cool posts and stuff like that. So it's just fun to meet people, and I think that that's how I looked at it in the beginning, is I just want to see what was out there, kind of give it a chance. I had just kind of like closed the door on my like healing from a breakup last year, and was like wanting to get out there and meet people and just have fun and try something new. Okay, so then I start reading this book, and the beginning of December, I want to say. And I also finally get like closure from that ex. Like, had a last conversation with him and got like full closure and just like lots of clarity. So that left me to be a little bit more invested in the dating apps in a slightly more serious sense. So this is like part 2. And so I feel like, yeah, I have a runny nose right now. Fun. Well, there you go. Natural, real stuff. So, I downloaded Hinge. I didn't really want to do United Young just because I don't really like the interface of the app. Yes, it's a Christian app, but it's also not as well known, so I feel like less people may know about it, but then you also may think like, it's Christian, so you'll get more like Christians on the app. Anywho, I like Hinge better. So I downloaded Hinge, and it tells you if they're Christian. Like, the reason why I like Hinge so much is because it breaks down things, and I know that United Young like also breaks down things with like denominations and stuff, but I also like the prompts a lot better. You can choose what you want to say, and so it's really easy to kind of figure out what someone's about on Hinge, and I don't know, I enjoyed it better. So I did Hinge, and I took it like semi-seriously after reading this book, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping, about opening yourself up to non-exclusive dating, and like really kind of just flipping everything on its head, not having a type, having fun with dating, meeting people, all that stuff. I really took that seriously the past month and a half. And so the reason why I'm making this video is I've kind of shut all of that down, and it's like really kind of crumbled in my mind, which is really funny because I knew going into this style of dating it's very countercultural, and I was like, but I can make it work. And I'm going to be stubborn about this, and I'm going to do things my way, and it's going to be fine. Well, it wasn't fine. So I was very overwhelmed with all the people I was texting on Hinge, but again, not necessarily always FaceTiming or meeting them in person. I also started to not just date people off of Hinge, but also like outside as well. And so it was just a lot. It was very overwhelming. It taught me a lot. So one, what do I want to say? I will say that more of the story is I've like changed my mind on my philosophy. I think that it's great to be open, especially if you are very idealistic or very rigid, or you're not getting yourself out there in meeting people and things like that. I think the book is great at opening yourself up, but I think I opened myself up a little bit too much. Is my necklace twisted? I hate when that happens. Watch, it's like not actually twisted. It's just all in my head. But I think I went a little too far with it. So like I have some friends who like don't really want to go on dating apps at all, and I don't want to like hate on dating apps. I think I still stand by. I think if you are single and you want to be married, like in this season of life, it's not like, oh, I want to be married one day, but like you want to be married, I think you should go on dating apps just so you can if anything, like practice and open yourself up more to see what's out there besides your little circle, and to have like a non-pressure way of communicating with the opposite sex, and kind of figuring out how to go about evaluating people in a way that may not be as like feeling oriented, because when you're in person and you meet them at like your church or your work or a mutual friend, you can get caught up in your feelings because you're seeing so much of them and you're having more of that like personal one-on-one interactions. And so infatuation and your feelings and emotions can get ahead of yourself. But when you're on a dating app, it's like there's a wall because you're not physically around them, and they're like a rando in a sense. They're not someone that you've like known for a few months and like have hung out with and see all the time and spending all this time getting to know them. It's very like contained. And so that's why I think dating apps can be really good for you. And a lot of people find someone on dating apps nowadays. So if you want to get married, I think stop complaining if you're not on a dating app, you know? And to really like put your best foot forward, try a couple of dating apps, figure out which one you like the best, which one you're getting the most results from, and which one you feel like you're vibing the most from, and then do it for a while. Do it for at least like a month or two. Really give it a go, and then don't just do it once for 2 months and then be like, well, it didn't work out for me, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. I would say take a break for a few months if you try it and you're just like, meh, for whatever reason, you're not matching with people, the people you match with, it doesn't go anywhere and whatnot. So that's what I would say with dating apps. And get over the stigma, okay? Like, we live in a digital age nowadays. I know we all want the romantic story that we see and all the rom-coms from the 90s and early 2000s of the meet cute, and we want our parents' love story of I met at this place. But what I've also realized is, yes, you can meet on a dating app, but that doesn't mean that's where your love story begins. So there was a person that I did meet on a dating app, and then we became friends, and then we decided that we wanted to date, and then we decided that we no longer wanted to date. And so, but if you asked us, it was like, where did you meet? And like, let's say we were still together or still pursuing an interest in one another, then we would have said, well, technically on a dating app. But if you really think of it in like the context of like, when did you meet? Well, then it's also like, well, we could have met in this context. Or, you know, when did we start having feelings and interest in each other? That it's in this context. So really, I think people should just get over the whole like, where did we meet aspect? Because yes, maybe you met on a dating app, but maybe you became friends and then you were interested in each other. Or maybe you met on a dating app and tried dating for a little bit and then you backed off, but then you met in real life, you know, or you invited them to a cool thing and you guys were friends for a while, and then more time went by and then you guys were interested in each other. Like, everyone meets in different ways. That doesn't have to define your love story or your relationship. So that's what I would say. And I think don't ghost people. Like, have quote unquote the balls to let them know you're no longer interested. And you don't have to give them this whole essay, you know, be respectful, keep it short. If they ask questions, you can answer them. But that's what I had to do when I was like, I'm over these dating apps. God revealed a lot in me the past 2 weeks, of just my heart getting too emotionally ahead of myself, me being very overwhelmed and distracted, kind of in a sense filling a void, because it is nice to have people asking how your day has been going and wanting to talk to you. And, you know, if you don't have a friend to hang out with, it's like, oh, I can FaceTime this guy. And it's like filling that void, but it's like, well, what better things could I be doing with my time? It's like, I have a business to run. I could be spending time with the Lord. I could be investing in other relationships in my life or other hobbies and things like that. So I think that I realized my heart was only half in it. and I was really only perpetuating it as like the what if possibilities of these things going somewhere, and also kind of the stubbornness of, well, this is like my new philosophy on dating, so like I should stick with it. But I really had to examine, it's like, do I want this? Is this beneficial to me? Am I feeling some sort of wonderful connection with these people? And if not, then like, why am I continuing? I have a lot of friends. I don't need that much more. And for me, my guy friends that I have in my life, I don't communicate with all the time. It's like, oh, hey, like, are you in the area? Cool, let's hang out, you know, and I may see them like once, twice a year, and that's it. So, and never like one-on-one. So I think that's just, at least for me, how I do guy friends. And so looking at things like that through that context. And yeah, what else do I want to say? I would say that if you really want to find a spouse on a dating app, then give the person at least 2 chances, in the sense like you FaceTime twice, or you go on like 2 dates with them in person, or things like that. And I think also, don't necessarily wait for the guy to like make a move on a dating app, because I know people are like, well, I want the guy to lead, you know, and yes, you want a guy to pursue you and to want you and things like that. But dating apps, sometimes if you want something to happen, you just gotta make it happen, because people don't know how to maneuver it still. They don't know the social context of like, you know, a guy being like, well, I want to like talk to this girl, but maybe she's not comfortable with that. You know, if he says like, let's FaceTime, or can I get your number? And you're like, oh, this is too early. Communicate with that and say, you know, I would actually like to still message on here for the next 2 weeks, and we can reevaluate moving forward. Or if the guy has been messaging you on the app for 2 weeks and you're like, I want to meet this guy in person because I don't want a texting relationship, and I don't want this to go on for like a month before we FaceTime or meet in person, then say that to the person. Be initiative, be assertive, and like, I don't know, you can't just like wait around for the guy necessarily all the time, unless you're like me and I didn't care. And so because I didn't care, I just kind of let the guys lead. And I was like, if they want to FaceTime, cool. If they don't, cool. Like, I really didn't care. But if you are serious about it and you're interested in the person and you feel like you have a connection, then make that move. And their response will be really telling. Like the very first guy that I wanted to FaceTime when I first got on the app, he was like, not about it. And I was like, okay, cool, bye. You know, it like doesn't waste your time. And you're like, you're putting up boundaries. And I think that's important, to go into the dating apps knowing what you're comfortable with, what you're uncomfortable with, and having that guard up and that wall, in a sense, of realizing that you don't really know this person, and not to like let your feelings get ahead of you because you're not in this like real life personal context. So for me, a rule I guess that I had was I wanted a friend to come with me if I met the person in person. And there was one person that I met in person where I didn't have a friend come with me, but that's because we realized we had mutual friends, and so I felt a little bit safer and a little bit more comfortable with that. And then I think also, the longer you do it, you may just get more comfortable with things. So there was a point, this didn't end up happening, but there was a point where I did consider meeting someone in person without a friend. But by that point, I was like, I cannot do these dating apps anymore. I'm just, my heart, God's doing a lot in it, and it's just not the season. I'm about to leave for Maine. And so I've kind of hung up dating apps for a while. Not necessarily forever, but for a good bit of time. But I don't regret my time that I've been on them. I have, this past time that I went on Hinge, I had the most success rate. I probably was talking to like, on average, 10 guys, like had ongoing conversations with 10 guys. Like some would fall off, but then a new guy would pop on, and some like continued throughout, but on average like 8 to 10 guys. And that's kind of a lot. It's very overwhelming. And I think, again, there's an extreme. Like, I have a friend who only likes to talk to one guy on Hinge at a time. And it's like, that's a lot of eggs in one basket for a person you don't even know, you know? But I do think 8 to 10 is also a lot. And I think I also had the mindset of just like, meh, kind of going with the flow. I wasn't as like assertive because I wasn't like necessarily being like, I want to find my husband. I was like, I do want to find a husband and I want to date with a little bit more intention now and not exclusively. But yeah, so I think keeping it relatively small, I would say like go in with a plan. Ask certain questions so you're pulling things out of them. Everyone has pretty serious questions about what, you know, they think about God and church, what they think about what's going on in the world and their life. And I was trying to weed people out. And you may think, oh, that's so like insensitive, but it's like you don't know the person you're evaluating. And another thing I also realized is that you can have a lot in common on like paper. So like you could think they're attractive, they could think you're attractive, you could like their answers, they could like your answers, you could have similar worldviews and all that stuff that you figure out through texting. But then you go to FaceTime or you go to Meet and you're like, I kind of think you're boring, or there's not a connection, or like you're a nice person, but I'm just not feeling it, not like vibing with the convo. And so that's kind of hard. Or it could be the other way around, like where you are vibing with the convo, but like where they're at in life is also just like, nah, you're not about it, like different life stages. So there's a lot that goes into it. And just because you have a lot in common with someone doesn't mean that you should date them. And that's what's so hard about dating apps is you're getting this like paper resume of someone with their picture and what they say about themselves. And then you're like messaging them, and then you finally FaceTime or meet in person. And then it's like, well, I wish there was a connection because we have been talking and we have so much in common. And like you think that we would be great together, but maybe we just aren't. And so it can be hard. This has been such a long video. I'm really happy with where I'm at right now. Not actively dating, pursuing that. Like, I'm happy to have closed that door. It was kind of a very quick decision. Like, after the events of last week, really reflecting and praying with God, just how I was feeling emotionally, and then just processing things a little bit more, I was just like, nope. And then I did it and I was done. Apps deleted, messaged the people, let them know. And yeah, so I'm open to whatever God has. You know, it's not like, not dating, but I just don't want to actively, pursue it. So that's why I was like, well, I guess it's about time to make that dating app video since I've closed the door on it, and I didn't want to do it when I was actively involved still because I felt like it was an ongoing project. That's like if I made a video halfway through, it would have been like incomplete. So yeah, last closing thoughts. I guess I will say that if you're a guy out there, please have good photos on your profile. They mean a lot because that's all we're going off of. So like have a mom or a sister or a friend who's a girl check your photos for your dating profile and like have them approve of it because that really does matter. Most girls hate mirror selfies, just saying. Most girls hate when you're like showing off your body in any way. At least I do. This is my criteria. If you have a weird selfie from a weird angle, or you're making a really weird face where you're not just normal and smiling, nope. Mirror selfie, like I said, showing off your body in any way, drinking. And it's not if you have alcohol in a photo at all. It's the context. Like if you're clearly at a bar or you're like kind of showing off that you're drinking alcohol, or it looks like you're drunk, then it's a no for me. If you have a mask on in any photos, that's a no for me. What else is a no? Oh, if you have like lots of pictures of other things other than you, like your dog, but not you and your dog, or like scenery, or photos where I can't really tell what you look like because they're just super far away, or there's a huge group of people, or it's like from your back, it's a no for me. Also, if the prompts on the little essays that they give you, the little paragraphs, are super short and not personal, it's a no for me. Like if it's like, what's your favorite food? And you're like, tacos, smiley face. It's like, what? Who are you? Like, take this at least somewhat seriously and put some effort and thought into it. So that's for me. Everyone has their criterias. So yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to edit the video again because it stopped me. It's gonna be another long video. It's like long video, relatively normal video, long video again. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now because I don't want this to be any longer than it already is. So I hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions about dating apps, dating in general, my ever-changing philosophy on the topic as I learn and experience more things and God teaches and reveal things about myself, then please let me know. And yeah, just like really be prayerful about dating. Pray a lot during your dates. Look at them as another brother or sister in Christ and really trying to honor the Lord. And I think the more people you invite in to your dating experience, especially early on, not just like later when you're already attached, but like early on, like second, third, fourth date, maybe even the first date, then I think that's really beneficial because your friends can see things that you may not be able to see because you have the rose-colored glasses on because you're infatuated. So that's what I have to say. Get a team around you who can speak life into you and hold you accountable and, you know, maybe ask questions that you're not going to ask. So have a wonderful day. I will see you guys next week. I do not know what I will be talking about, but I'm sure the Holy Spirit will guide me and lead me before I sit down and film the video. So I'm just as excited as you are probably to know what the next topic will be. And I hope you guys have a great day. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now and I'm gonna end the video. Bye.